Hi everybody, I'm Carmen Shenk, the Tiny House Foodie, and I wanted to show you how I arrived at the interior design for our Skoolie. And by the way, this is Xavier. I want to talk to you a little bit about how I am designing the floor plan for my Skoolie. Now, I've gone through the bus and I have made some measurements and made some notes, and then I converted that into this floor plan using floorplanner.com. Now, I've got the floor on here, I've got a chair in the place where the driver's seat is, and I have an ottoman here and here. And those are the bumps for the wheel wells. Okay, I've got the windows in place, I've got the walls in, this is the entrance, and of course the rest of the bus is up here, the engine and everything. Okay, so there is a 3D component. You can kind of look and get a feel for what you've got. Okay, so this is a really kind of interesting and helpful tool, I think. Now, if I go back over here into the 2D section, I'm going to show you this piece of furniture, and let me go back over here to 3D. This is this thing right here. It's in their collection, it's the thing that looked the most like the piece of furniture that we found at the Restore to use for our kitchen cabinets. So it has this big mirror on the top, which ours does not, so you have to kind of think about it in terms of it's close to what it would look like, but it's not exact, and that's okay. Now you click on the little eye, and then I have the dimensions in here of the piece of furniture that we have. It's 48 inches by 23. So that helps me get a feel for what that would look like if I center it on that window. Now, if you look at it from this view, you can see that it actually is covering part of that window. So that's just, something to be aware of, because that is how it is in real life as well. It definitely does cover part of that window. Now, there are other aspects of the kitchen. Here is a fridge that I have chosen, and I want that to go there. I've also chosen a little oven, and I'd like that to go there. Now, this is an inexact science. I have an idea that a sink might be good there. I'm going to change the dimensions of it because it seems a little bit big for that spot. And that's fairly easy to do. Now, I think Xavier will probably make the sink. So that hasn't happened yet, so I don't know what its actual dimensions are. And then this is a little placeholder. It'll go over on this side somewhere. This is... we have a little induction heater that's only got one burner, but it is these dimensions. So again, you have to kind of use your imagination, but it's not too difficult to for that to be assembled for an induction heater. Okay, so that's the kitchen area. That's what I've got in mind there. Now I have decided to put in a pair of bookcases in the back, and these not only will they be bookcases, but they will also be room dividers. We're not actually going to build a wall. We're just going to have a bookcase because there's no need for a wall in a space this small when you can make it useful space instead. So let's look at that in the 3D view and see how that's looking. So if you sneak in here, you can kind of see down there those two bookcases along the wall. You can see, you can see the the driver's seat with the. Let's see, can I get a little closer? Yeah, here we go. So you can see those bookcases down there. You can see that it wants the oven to be in the middle of the air, and that's fine because I'm not going to put the oven quite like that. And I haven't figured out how to get the sink to actually be in the top of the piece of furniture. But you know, you have to you have to recognize that this is just to give you a general idea. It's not to be perfect or specific. So this chair is holding the place for the driver's seat. Okay. So let's go back here. Now, there's a couple of things that I've toyed with. We can very easily move these bookcases right back out. Now, I have here this thing. I've been using this as a measuring stick. Now, this is in the program. This is just a duvet. And so I could put the bed here, or I could put the bed here, or I can turn it a little bit and put it along a wall somewhere. I have gone round and round about this. Now, I'm very clear. I'm very clear that I want the kitchen to be the first thing as you come in, okay? So that we can come in, we can put our grocery bag down and put away the groceries, market, coming back from the farmer's market or whatever. We can put all of the kitchen stuff away very simply right first thing we come in. Now, I also have wanted this home to be different from our last tiny, that I wanted more space to have guests. And so I've been looking at this space in terms of how can I make something that can do that kind of RV transformation from a bedroom into a dining room. How can we pull that off in this space? Now, one option is to go back here and to build everything in, but then that would mean putting a bathroom here somewhere in the middle. And I didn't want to close up the space. I didn't want this small space to feel smaller. So I'm using this as kind of a measuring stick. I put that in the middle and we'll put these back. And I found an antique that I like. And so I'm using this sink to represent the antique. And so I'll put that kind of in the middle there. And this is where I have come out so far. Now this orange little stool is representing the compostable toilet. And we'll also probably, just like we did in our last tiny house, hang some clothes above where the toilet lives, okay? So this will be either shower or tub, or maybe for now it'll just be storage. Our last tiny house had a shower that we didn't use. So we used it for storage rather than for actually showering. We always had other alternatives somehow or another. So we know that it's not the top of our priority list to figure out the bathing situation right off the bat. So that's cool. So we have clothing and bathroom dressing area here. We have kitchen area here. This is the foyer. As much as it ever has a foyer. So I'm going to take this out of the way because that was our little placeholder. And I'm going to move these guys up. Now, I have been in love with Le Corbusier sofa for so many years. I've discovered this sofa when I was in... Whoa, come back here. I discovered this sofa when I was in school, when I studied the Bauhaus, and I just love it so much. And here's my opportunity to actually have one of these in this house, as long as I'm willing to make it myself. So what I've done, now let's see, what can we do to... All right, so sometimes one thing will be on top of another thing. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to copy this and put it over here, and then we're going to give it a little turn. Now, I haven't really figured out every last detail of how this would work, but we could either do two beds that together form a sleepable surface for the two of us and the dog. Somehow that they scoot together, or we could put them against the walls and put something in the middle to expand the bed. But basically, I think we have the general gist of a bed slash dining room area right here using these Le Corbusier inspired sofas. So that's where I'm at this point. I also think we might throw in a little shelf over here just to have a little bit more kitchen storage. So that's where I'm at right now. We have been around, we've talked about all kinds of different incarnations here. We have moved the sofas a zillion times. And this is, with the wheel wells being right here in the way, this is something that we can build right over the wheel wells without it being a problem. And then we, maybe the backs of the cushions go here and become the basis for the bed. Okay, so I haven't quite figured out how the table thing works yet, but this is all in process, and I'm comfortable with it as it is right now. And I've been keeping this handy just as a way of measuring. Now let's take a look and see what we think. Oh, look at this. We've got a little cutting board flying out, just levitating out here in the boonies. So let's bring that in and put that on the kitchen counter. That's a little more comfortable, okay? All right, let's take a peek at this again. We've got the kitchen cabinet. That is a dresser that we're converting into kitchen counter space. This probably would not be this high. So again, you have to just kind of think about how it might look. And then Alexa off. And then these are the pair of sofas that would transform into the bed. And back there you've got this thing that's standing in for a piece of furniture I have my eye on. So this software makes it possible for you to peek in the windows and see how it looks. That's kind of interesting. You can see my clothes hanging there in the closet. And you can peek in the window on the other side. You can see the bathroom sink from that side. You can see this is just the duvet. There's not any bed under it. That's all it is just the cover. And so that's why it works pretty well as a measuring device. It's not a big, well, you don't have to move any of this physically. It's kind of cool. So here is how you design your space for a tiny house without having to move a piece of furniture and without having to tape out your floor. If you want to tape your floor, that's certainly a really great way to kind of get a feel for how the space is going to feel. But this is actually kind of a fun way to look at some of the different choices. So we intend to have guests coming in the front door, gathering here in the kitchen, and then we will be able to seat 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 and 6 if we add chairs, and put a table here somehow. Who knows? We've got some creativity ahead of us to get it all to work like we want it to, but I think we've got a really good start. So that is how I have been working at designing a tiny house without having to be outside in the cold and without having to actually build anything or rip it out. So here we go. I'm Carmen Shenk, the Tiny House Foodie, reminding you that we can live tiny, enjoy simplicity, and still eat really well. You may not believe that you can do it, but I know you can.